Now we straight chillin', serial killing, pre-cold villains on the mic, got you reeling. 5-star rated from the floor to the ceiling. If you catch a 1-star, no time for feelings. Got a demon DJ on the ones and twos, by the name Beelzebub, so don't get confused. So grab a seat by the fire, roast a marlow or two, and prepare to hear the legend of the straight chillin' crew.
What up, nerds, and welcome to another Brazilian episode of Straight Chilling, the weekly horror movie review show where you chill and we kill, slice, dice, chop up yet another horror movie. My name's Bob. I'll be your host for the evening. This is episode 440, recorded Sunday, September 10th, 2023. Tonight we're talking about another Patreon thing. It is raw. It is indeed raw. Chosen by Logan. Finally getting into it. Before we do so, let me introduce everyone else on the show. First up, calling in from Washington, D.C., we got your boy Randeezy. What's up, man?
Big old doinks.
How's it going, buddy? Good to talk to you.
Big old doinks. Randy, when's the last time you got that Brazilian wax?
You know, it's been a long time. I tend to go with the bush, the feral bush myself, but you know, that's just me.
So the George W. or just the George?
We call it the Outback.
The Outback steak. No rules, just right. That's how
No
we
rules,
like it.
just extra pube.
Hairy steaks. That's the way we like them. In Australia. Last but not least, calling in from South Korea, we got your boy Soju. What's up, man?
Oh, bonjour, mon frère. Je m'appelle Adustains. What's up?
And do stains? Hello? Goodbye stains?
Is it, am I coming? Am I gone? What's going on? Nay. Man, I'm so trilingual.
Very. That's try with a Y, I assume.
Oh, yeah.
Uh-huh. I hate to see those stains go, but I love to watch them walk away. Love it.
Oh, all right.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks, guy.
You got that tight ass. Freshly
Like a baby
waxed,
pumpkin.
no doubt. Unlike Randeezy.
Mm,
I like the thickets,
I keep it clean. You know.
the bog of uncertainty. That's what I'm about.
Never know what's in there until you go.
You're never
diving.
sure.
What's going on in there?
Start rooting around.
This is
and,
this is a hell of a way to start any of our episodes at all.
Yeah.
It's pretty typical.
We're talking about Raw. Thanks again, Logan, for picking this week's flick. Before we get into it, though, let's tackle some housekeeping. We got a decent amount. Here's another reminder. We do have our October poll currently posted on our Patreon website. If you support us at the $5 level or above, you get the chance to vote on 3 movies we're talking about this October. So we're going to have you guys vote on our big triple feature episode, as we typically do every October. And you guys are going to be voting on theme alone. You're not going to know what the 3 movies are until we announce the winner. And the themes you're voting on are called It's Alive, Dark Worlds, and Slime Time.
Whoa, Bob, this is it. This is what we live for. How those numbers looking?
I only live for this.
This is
To announce the
why
poll
I'm
numbers.
alive.
For this moment right now.
It's the only thing
the sole
keeping me
reason.
going.
Oh, God, don't ever take it away. Dark Worlds is in first place still. It's beating out It's Alive by just a vote or 2, I think. And then Slime Time, nobody gives a shit about. We're sliming
Oh,
it.
slime time.
I am
All right.
literally
Slimed.
so wrong every guess I make for this.
I
Like,
think
Yeah.
you take one
single-
person's comment and you just run with it. You just think
That's fair.
what the
You know,
people want. That's what they're
the
gonna
people, I distill the people down to the person that
Yeah.
spoke most recently. Is probably the issue.
Yes.
The people. So it's still kind of a tight race. You got, I don't know, the majority of the month to vote. So make sure you vote before the end of September. We'll see what 3 movies we're talking about this October. We're dropping mini casts every Friday in the month of September. Last Friday, I was talking about The Blackening, and this coming Friday, we're going to be dropping a mini cast on It Lives Inside. So, Ju, this was one of your main casts.
Whoa, yeah, and this is a brand new film coming out again as the mini cast drops. I don't know if this is going to be in theaters or not. I need to. I know it's getting released, but I'm not sure exactly where. But this might be one. This is one that is a good Halloween watch. It's got good autumn vibes. But it's a kind of a haunting monster-esque situation. Pretty solid for spooky season for sure.
Check it out this Friday
Yeah.
on Patreon. Speaking of Patreon, we got a brand new Patreon supporter we got to give
Ooh.
shout outs to.
Yeah.
A big ol' thank you to Mandy K for signing up on Patreon and showing us some love. Every dollar you guys contribute goes right back into the show. And as is tradition around these here parts, we owe Mandy the straight chilling salute. This one goes out to you.
Oh, God, slap me in the ass.
Oh, God.
Oh God.
Oh, God.
Oh my God. Slap me in the ass.
In
Thank
the
you,
ass.
Mandy.
Thank you, Mandy.
Man.
Randy's thicket just got shaken around a little bit. We like that.
You know, there's a disturbance in the woods.
He didn't even feel it. It's so thick.
Yeah.
If an erection forms in the woods, I think you know where this is going.
Do you yell timber? I don't know where this is going. I don't.
Does anyone? Does it actually happen like this?
I know. I
You know,
follow.
okay.
It's hilarious. It's hilarious. Thanks again, Mandy, for showing us love on Patreon. In other Patreon news, we're going to be reopening the You Pick the Flick tier this coming Sunday, September
Oh.
17th.
Here we go.
It's happening.
What's happening?
you're-
What's happening?
The happening.
It's all
Oh
happening.
boy!
If you're,
What?
What?
That was my Wahlberg impression.
Killed it. It was great. If you're a newer listener, this is the only way that you can outright pick a movie for us to review on the show. The You Pick the Flick tier, we open it up quarterly. There's only 5 spots per quarter. They typically go very quickly. So we're going to be reopening that tier on Patreon Sunday, September 17th at an undisclosed time of day. You'll just have to check Patreon throughout the day. And should it be open, go ahead and grab a spot. And good luck to you all.
I am the cream.
You got to be the cream to get that movie choice. You
Rises.
gotta rise.
You gotta be the cream. In other Patreon news, I'm still not done. We're hosting our 3rd annual Chilloween party, Friday, October
Pumpkins.
13th. Bring your
Pumpkins
pumpkins.
are back, baby.
Yeah, Friday, October 13th at 9 Eastern, we're going to be having a Zoom hangout party, our 3rd annual Chilloween party. We're going to be doing some horror movie trivia. We're also going to be hosting a surprise screening. We show a movie each year, and we don't let you know what it is until the night of. And it's also a costume party, so we encourage you guys to dress up in costume, and we're going to vote on the coolest costume of the night. Whoever wins will get a very dope straight chilling care package to their house.
And we
Can
play
I piggyback?
trivia.
Oh, sorry.
Oh.
Yes, and
trivia.
trivia, of
Yeah.
course. Can I piggyback on that house cleaning real quick and say that also, in addition to this Chilloween party that we annually have, you might see some excessively limited edition merch appear on our
What?
web shop. And when I say limited edition, I really mean it because it is a print-on-demand motherfucking website called TeePublic. So keep an eye out there.
Very limited. Yeah, Rainey's been making some cool shit coming at you soon.
I sure try.
That's all I got for Patreon. Do you guys have anything else you need to throw out there?
So by the time this comes out, we will have a brand new Creature Comforts episode out on our YouTube. This is a movie review that's exclusive to YouTube. This is where we cover horror adjacent films. So not quite horror, but the fringes of horror. And I am joined this month by our boy G Baby from Waxing the Porpoise. He picked a movie for us to talk about called The Jacket from 2005. So if you're looking for a little extra movie review action, head on over to our YouTube and check that out.
Don't touch that dial. You need to hear this.
You need to hear this.
Hell yeah. The last thing I have here, this is the final reminder. I'm going to be hanging out in Orlando at the Phantasm Festival this Saturday, September 16th, hosting the 35th anniversary panel for Night of the Demons. There's going to be a large portion of the cast and crew there, including director Kevin Tinney. And that's going to kick off at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So come hang out with us in Orlando at Phantasm.
Nice.
Bring Bob your lipstick canisters. It'll be a nice conversation piece.
I will put it in my tit. Promise.
Oh, inside.
All right. Well, I mean,
right here
that would
in the
be in keeping.
Yes. On theme.
Damn.
Yeah, so I think the only thing we have left is to hear a word from our sponsors.
Gather round, all you ghastly ghouls, and kick off this Halloween season with scary good music and even scarier movies. Monster House Records is a brand new vinyl record retailer specializing in punk rock music and horror movie memorabilia. Located in the heart of Sanford, Florida, they boast a wide array of physical media, including vinyl records, cassette tapes, CDs, VHS, laser disc, and more. You can also find vintage tees, books, and plenty of toys. Come for the music, stay for the chills and thrills. At Monster House Records, be sure to follow them at Monster House ORL or visit them on their website at monsterhouserecords.com.
I really think Dracula needs some Sudafed. He sounded kind of stuffed up, kind of
He's
blocked.
fine. He's totally fine. Yeah, I think our house is clean.
All right.
All right. Perfecto. There she is.
This house is clean.
Hell yeah.
Bob,
All
edit
right,
out that beat of silence.
No, it all stays in.
We got to keep the beat.
Keeping the beat. All right, we're getting into the main event, talking about Raw, and we're kicking it off with the back of the box.
What's on the back of the box?
Bob, do you have this box?
I do.
How many?
I got it right here.
Is
just
it
one.
blue? Okay.
How's it waxed?
It's actually very hairy. But, Scream Factory, they don't pull any punches, so they went all out. Yeah, so this movie from 2016 got an R rating with a runtime of 1 hour and 39 minutes. This was written and directed by Julia Ducournau. Stars Garance, Marillier, Ella Rumpf, Nabah Nate Ophelia. I'm probably killing these.
Killing
Most
it.
likely. Plot synopsis brought to you by the back of the box is as follows. At 16, Justine is a brilliant and promising student and a strict vegetarian. But when she starts at veterinarian school, she quickly encounters a decadent, merciless, and dangerously seductive world. Desperate to fit in, during the first week of hazing rituals, desperate to fit in at whatever cost. Whoever wrote this did a bad job. She
Maybe they were
strays from
French.
She strays from her family's principles when she eats raw meat for the first time. Justine will soon face the terrible and unexpected consequences of her actions as her true self being emerges. It's wrong! It is wrong. Joe Mangs, had you seen this before, and would you recommend people check it out? Randu, why don't you kick us off?
Yeah, I think we have all seen this film.
Yes.
And it has been on the it's been omnipresent on our list of, this is a movie we should cover for like the entire run of this show, pretty much, more or less. And it just kind of never happened. It's been on a few polls, I don't know, 3, 4 maybe, and it somehow never made it all the way to the top. This time, Logan came through in the clutch for us. So yes, I would recommend that people watch this, but be prepared for to have a pretty strong stomach. Like this one actually bothers me a little bit on the gruesome side, which is a rarity for me. And also it's quite, it's very European in terms of like nudity and things like that. So be prepared for that.
Randy. Ooh.
Mhm.
I'd enjoy going to the weenie roast very much.
Yeah, Logan found a way for us, finally. Thank you. Juice, what about you?
Yes, I had seen this before. I really enjoy it. Most of the time I was throwing it up on the picks like, please pick this, please pick this. So yeah, really appreciate Logan coming through and finally kind of closing this chapter for Straight Chillin'. Yeah, I would recommend people check this out. It's brutal. Yeah, it's got all the things that like a lot of horror films like try to capture, but it does them it's skillfully and like tastefully. But yeah, you might need some warnings with the nudity and with the violence and the gore and stuff like that. But yeah, I don't know. I don't really know who to recommend this to because it is intense, but it's a good film that a lot of people I think should check out. So just watch it. Suck it up and watch it. Okay. They're just breasts. Okay. Bob, would you recommend people check out Raw?
Yeah, I recommend this specifically to children and the elderly. You should watch it first and foremost. Describing this movie as tasteful, I thought was funny, Juice. I don't know if I'd call it tasteful. I think thoughtful. I think it's very thoughtful. It's super interesting for a cannibal movie, and we'll get into all that. Yeah, if you're into horror, I just think you should watch this. It's a solid movie, and yeah, Julia Ducournau, she does good shit. Watch it. Yeah, it sounds like a solid recommendation across the board, I'd say.
So plump, so right.
All right, we're gonna spoil the shit out of Raw, and here comes your warning.
Spoiler warning.
Bob, do you have a plot synopsis for this? Are you going to read it in French?
We
Damn.
My name is Physical Media. Nailed it.
That is the story of Bob, if I ever heard it.
Je voudrais un Blu-ray.
A Blu-ray. All right.
Yeah, I got a synopsis,
Behind the scenes on that one.
and I'll read it for you right here, right now.
All right.
So Justine, a vegetarian, starts her first semester at veterinarian school, the same school her sister Alexia attends, and the same school her parents graduated from. She experiences various hazing rituals, one of them being covered in animal blood and forced to eat a raw rabbit kidney.
Oh no, she's been traumatized. Is she okay?
She's not okay. She breaks out in a rash, and the doctor says she got food poisoning, gives her some cream. The next day, she begins craving meat. Her and her roommate Adrian go to the gas station so her schoolmates don't see her eating meat. She goes to town on a Sammy, I think a gyro. She also eats raw chicken out of the fridge the following morning. That night, Alexia attempts to give her sister a bikini wax. When she goes to cut the wax paper off, Justine kicks her away and she cuts her own finger off by accident. She passes out and Justine starts to eat her finger. Alexia wakes up and sees her. Later, Alexia explains to her parents the dog ate the finger, not her sister. The next morning, Alexia takes her sister to a quiet stretch of road and jumps in front of a car, causing it to crash into a tree. She then begins eating. The driver asks to teach her sister how to safely eat human flesh. Justine is appalled despite her own cravings. That night, she goes to a party involving another hazing ritual where she's covered in paint and forced to make out with somebody. She bites a piece of his lip off and runs away as her classmates are disgusted. She showers and confides in Adrian. They have sex, and she bites her own arm until it bleeds profusely, seemingly to cause her to orgasm. At another party, Justine gets extremely drunk, and Alexia takes her to the morgue. The following morning, her classmates are avoiding her. Adrian shows her a video of herself on all fours at the party, trying to take a bite out of a corpse's hand with Alexia and several other onlookers cheering her on. Justine and Alexia fight and bite each other until they're broken up. They return to their dorms, and the next morning, Justine wakes up in a bed with Adrian. She's covered in his blood and finds a knife in his back, and the majority of one of his legs is also eaten. She finds Alexia on the ground, covered in his blood. Justine is furious at first, but then cleans her sister up. Alexia is in prison for murder, and Justine returns home. Her father explains what happened is neither of their faults. When he first met their mom in college, she didn't want to be with him, and he eventually came to understand why. He motions to a scar on his lip, as well as several scars and chunks missing on his chest as he takes his shirt off. He finally tells her she will certainly find a solution. Roll credits.
Spicy.
Whoa.
Indeed.
All right. Well,
Yeah, we finally get to talk about it.
We did it.
let me ask you guys a question, because I had not seen this movie. I don't think since maybe like the year or two after it came out. Like, I think we watched it together, and that was the last time I had seen it. Have you guys seen it since then?
I definitely have.
I think so.
Yeah, I would say it's probably been a couple years, 2 or 3 at least. But yeah, I have watched it again. Maybe when
Gotcha.
when did Titan come out?
Oh,
Last year, right?
No, it was
2
2021.
years?
I
2 years
think.
ago?
Might have
Yeah.
been 21, yeah.
So maybe that year I watched it again.
Gotcha. Like, I just hadn't seen this since then, and like so many of the details were completely lost. Like I didn't remember so much of this movie. I just remembered like having an incredible time watching it, because it has so many unexpected twists and turns, and like that was still the experience I had this time. It like I kind of recaptured that for myself, I think,
Good.
without, like, as far as I can remember, missing a beat. Like there was like the beauty of having not touched it in so long was that I got to re-experience it for the first time, basically,
Don't
with only one of the
touch
major
it.
things spoiled.
For
Yeah.
a long time. Dude, hazing in France is fucking intense. I mean, it's intense everywhere,
Well-
sure, but like, holy shit.
Okay, so let's talk about that aspect
Yeah.
of this film, because it's prominent throughout the film.
Yeah.
And my big take, well, one, two, I love the kind of very first scene. Well, it's not the very first scene, but one of the main first scenes of when the hazing begins, where they are all crawling on their hands and knees over this
Yeah.
kind of like ductwork to get to this like area. But that scene, it works really well. One, because it's beautifully shot, and it's effective, because at first you're like, what the fuck is going on? And just the visual of it and the movement of the bodies and stuff like that is very evocative and just interesting, and but also kind of morbid. But I like the idea. My kind of take from it this time was like the idea of being treated like an animal was really kind of, and that is the first scene. I mean, they throw their beds out the window and they pull them all into the hallway, and they're doing the typical thing, but that's the kind of scene where it really focuses in, or did for me, on, okay, these people are going to be treated like animals. And then there's a correlation, to that through conversations in this film, and through like what's going on in this film. But I like that aspect of it. I think it's effective. And sometimes it's in your face and it's very obvious, and they state things pretty, outright. And then sometimes it's more subtle and it's more hidden. And I just think that that's a really effective piece of this film. But yeah, the hazing is fucking nuts.
There's like the I wouldn't either. The metaphorical aspect of like, being eaten alive, like fed to the wolves, so to speak. They're, these sisters are like literally eating people, but they're upperclassmen are like eating them alive in another way. Like, I can't imagine wanting to be a veterinarian so badly that you deal with that shit. Like eating raw rabbit kidneys, and like, also I was kind of surprised, like they get covered in blood, like head to toe covered in animal blood the first day, and like the teachers just let them walk around covered in blood all day. Like, it's horrible.
So it was very strange, and like I agree, Justin. Like that was something that I keyed in on a little bit as well. But to me, it was more like allowing yourself to devolve into the status of an animalian like level thing. So like, what's our lead actor or lead character's name again? Justine, thank you. Justine is like early in the film shown to be like that she holds animals and the things that happen to animals, especially animals with like higher brain function like chimps, to be on a similar level to humanity, like flat out. And that to me like is an interesting thing, because what happens throughout the rest of the movie is her basically engaging in animalian things that any, you know, higher functioning person would know are not things that are safe or smart to do, but that she is like has these crazy compulsions to do. And that, I think that's like ultimately the core of the movie, is just like, you know, we're all in some level animalian. We're not just like, you know, sitting around with our fucking pipes reading goddamn literature all the time. We are human beings, are multitudes, and we are on some level an animal that has compulsions that we either keep in check or we don't. And for the most part, we don't all the time. We just keep it in check enough to where we can function within a society that has structure. And so like if you have something that's like a high end level of that, like having a compulsion to eat raw meat, including human beings, for sexual gratification, that's a kind of like a whole other level of that. And these are people that won't even eat fucking meat to begin with. Like they're vegetarians to begin with. But the minute they start engaging in this act of eating meat of any kind, really, they start, you know, devolving into something that is predatory to their colleagues and to people around them, as well as to other animals and so on. So I don't know. That's kind of like the crux of everything to me. So like the idea that she's at one point, like you said, Bob, she's sees a video of herself when she's very drunk and completely unable to control herself, chomping like a fucking animal at this piece of meat that is a human corpse, much while everybody laughs and points at her and like gets freaked out and films her. She has no inhibitions there, and she becomes an animal. So like I don't know, this is clearly making comparisons and like allusions to sexuality and things like that, and discovery of self in that way. And I don't know, like there's a lot of like little layers you can peel back on this, is I guess where I'm coming to here.
Definitely. I think like my biggest takeaway is this is just like a coming of age movie for Justine. And like when I was watching it going to college, I was like, oh, she's probably 18, you know, of legal age, you know. But like reading the back of the box, like she's 16, she's a bit younger, and like she states that she's a virgin when she gets to college. She's like going off on her own for the first time, and she's like experiencing all like freedom. She's exploring her sexuality and like how she's attracted to her roommate Adrian, and like there's a certain scene where he's playing soccer and she's like acting without words. Yeah, she's like thirsting for him, but also like hungry for his flesh, like in a literal way. And it's like the way she's acting in that scene, I thought was really fucking cool. But the coming of age like part in her family also includes like discovering you're a fucking cannibal, which is interesting. And I think that one of the most interesting parts of this movie to me is that the cannibalism seems to be hereditary. Like it's passed down from their mother to these two daughters. And it seems like her mother is kind of aware and worried about it, because like she freaks the fuck out when she finds a meatball in her mashed potatoes at the very beginning of the movie when they go out and have like a family meal. And she like wants to talk to the manager. So she's like trying to shield her daughter from this. So like it's interesting that like she's aware. Like, did she inherit it from her mother as well? Like, how far back does it go? It's kind of an original kind of aspect to this movie, I think.
That's one of the things I had completely forgotten, is that there was other people in this movie that were also like cannibalistic, and they're all family members. I sort of remembered as we went that her sister was, but then by the end I was like, oh shit, the whole family. I completely forgot that.
Except
and that's so weird.
Dad, I don't think
I'm sorry. All the women in the family.
Yeah,
all the women, and he's willing to accept it. He's basically her receptacle for that.
He's a literal snack, you know.
Yeah, he is. And it's like, there's something interesting about that, but also it's like a little incongruous if you really want to pick it apart. Like to me, I was saying, like, yeah, but if you feel this way, if you know that you're Their parents went to the same veterinarian school that they went to. There's pictures of them on the wall covered in blood. They were hazed in all the same ways. So they gotta know that their daughter's gonna taste some meat.
That's it though. That's it. That's the brilliance. That's what I was waiting to get to. That's what the brilliance of this movie is to me. And we kind of touched on it a little bit last week. We've touched on it in other films. Exactly. Okay. Because to me, the exact parallel. Now, you touched on something that I want to come back to later that I hadn't really considered about the devolving aspect of it. So I do want to come back to that. But to me, the main through line is the correlation with sexuality. So if you use this as this kind of allegory, this metaphor for sexuality and what young women go through in becoming an adult, going through their adolescence and this thing like that. Now, it's easy to see it in the sense of cannibalism and be like, okay, well, if you went through these same experiences, if you have a suspicion that this is going to happen to your daughter, why don't you guide them? Why don't you warn them? Why don't you speak to them, just straight up and kind of guide them? But we have these little moments in the same kind of vein, specifically where, okay, she's 16 or whatever her age is, and she's not even shaving or whatever, and her sister's kind of giving her shit, and she's like, well, when I was your age, I was giving myself full Brazilians and stuff like that. But these girls are like struggling their way through this feminine aspect. Their mom is not guiding them. Their mom is not teaching them how to shave or anything like that. It's this kind of like unspoken type of thing. So in the same way, the mom makes restrictions. You don't eat meat. You don't do this. And you live by these strict rules, but she's not guiding them. Her parents aren't speaking to her plain, like straight up and saying like, this is what could happen. Let us guide you. Let us teach you. And these things, it's just formed in the sense of rules that you have to follow, and you don't know what the consequences are. And you unfortunately have to like stumble your way through those. And I think that's the brilliance of this film.
We've seen how that plays out, like just people that we've known go to college and like, experiencing all these very overwhelming things for the first time. Dude, you can react in a plethora of ways to that shit. Some good, some not so good.
Yeah. And usually the thing that makes you, let's hope nobody we knew did that. But
hopefully not.
Yeah, but like the only way, like I think that's interesting, Juice. Like that's a really interesting way of looking at it, and that does sort of like answer the incongruity that I was talking about. Part of me is just like I don't know though, because that seems like a very American drum to beat, and like I don't know how the French public necessarily feels about that, because like I just like at least the stories I've heard about across the pond is that, there's a little bit more liberation in terms of like sexuality and things like that, a little bit more open conversation, certainly some more open in terms of like their films and things like that and showing things. And this movie is an example of that in many ways. So like, I don't know, like if from the American perspective, I see that and I'm like, oh yeah, that's interesting. I wish they would have gone harder and shown that the parents had some like I don't know, like hyper Christian philosophy or hyper something philosophy that made them want to repress that aspect of themselves. But that also then is incongruent with the idea of sending them off to this place where it's basically sending them to, if you know this is going to happen, if you know that your daughters have this proclivity, or that you do, and you don't want your children to go through that, don't send them there. But if you want them to go and just like crash course their way through it, then I guess that's what you do. I don't know. Like,
but no, see, that's because that's what we do. That's what people do. Now, from a European standpoint, we don't know, but like people know. I mean, how common is it, the trope of going crazy in college and how it's played up and letting loose and going through, and still yet people will not send their kids to college with a box of condoms. They will not speak the word condom. They will not teach them about protection. They will not give them these lessons because it's so taboo. It's so uncomfortable to them. So of course they want them to get that education. Of course they want them to go through that. And the main thing for me,
there's a bunch of schools you can go to that don't have you eat rabbit kidneys. In this specific case, I just don't know.
Well, it's
100% working in that way.
but it's also too like the exclamation point on it is like the point of is the dad at the very end, because essentially what it's saying is like you'll find someone who will match with you. Like there's someone out there for everyone, so even
You'll
in this,
figure it out, kid.
and this like in your sexual exploration, if we're talking like, so to me the urges and the consumption of raw meat is just, if it's just a metaphor for sexuality. Okay, so the whole thing is like,
certainly.
yeah,
I mean,
so
there's it's
yeah, I
tied.
mean it's tied like directly in this film, but specifically like the mom finding the dad, like even though like I accept this and I'm willing to like be a part of this, it's kind of like that exclamation of like there's someone for everyone. So even if you think you're weird or you're out of the box or whatever, you'll find someone to match with you. But it's the destruction of these girls essentially is, like even the sister's doing her best to kind of guide the younger sister. They're taking on that kind of like sibling responsibility, like, hey, but nobody taught the older sister.
Right.
She's kind of she even makes a statement, I was giving myself Brazilians and all of these things, and she had to take the rabbit kidney too. She went through it. And so like, I think there's like so much truth to that. And I think it's the kind of brilliance of this film, because it is easy to see when it's eating people. Why would you do that? Of course. Why wouldn't you warn them? Why wouldn't you teach them? Why would you let them go to the school? But it's like, we don't say those same things. Well, we might, but
I mean, some people do.
yeah, some people do. But it's easier to see it when it's such an extreme like that.
Yeah, I think it's another like kind of interesting aspect to it is like her older sister has gone to college and is losing her goddamn mind, but she's also already figured out that she's a cannibal. And when Justine gets there, she sort of like really forces her to eat that rabbit kidney and says something along the lines of like, you'll be happy you did or you won't regret it or whatever. So like she's really trying to get her sister there. Like she knows what time it is, and she's just trying to push her sister over the edge. And she also like kind of tries to guide her like in a way where like her mother was absent, with like taking her out and showing her how to like cause a car wreck and like quote safely human flesh. She like rejects it because it's horrifying and it's murder. Like she doesn't want to murder people, and that's totally understandable. So like she's kind of filling in that like motherly role, but when Justine rebukes her, she turns into like a fucking piece of shit and just like goes back to hazing her sister in horrible ways with the corpse hand and stuff. So like there's like a really interesting like sister dynamic happening here where like she's trying to step in a little bit and play the role of the mom, but there's that like sibling kind of rivalry, I guess, that is common amongst like basically any sibling that's close in age. You're going to have some sort of rivalry aspect to that, and we get a lot of that in this movie, which
I love that about this
horrific
movie.
Yeah they both like kind of start like gunning for Adrian a little bit, and like I think there's like some rivalry there, but
well, that's the thing. We know it exists because they mention things about it, and it makes sense too, like even in the sense of this extreme sense of cannibalism. But the sister doesn't pick her up at first, and like we said, she does make mention to of I'm the black sheep. The Justine has a conversation with her teacher that I think correlates to this as well, where he's talking about I don't really feel sympathy for you because you come in and you make my other students feel insecure. You kind of have this arrogance about yourself, and you discourage them. And so we can easily assume that's how the sister has felt through, her entire adolescence at least. And so she is in this weird place where she's thinking to herself, well, I had to do this all on my own, and God knows what her struggles were to kind of she's come up with this whole, just in 1 year, they're only 1 year apart, so just in this whole year she's come up with this system to hunt and eat people. It's the opening scene where she causes a wreck, and so she does, and her sister kind of is a bitch some of the time, where she's not really appreciating what her sister's doing, and also it's not really the sister's responsibility, but she like she's in this weird place. So I think that works really well, and it's just another thing that is heightened by the idea that what they're doing, but the truths that lie in there are still like so effective. I think like I think this is the perfect vehicle for like delivering some of these messages and feelings and storytelling beats or whatever, because to me it works like very effectively in this heightened state.
There's something. So we're all agreed that the idea of cannibalism or just eating raw meat in general in this movie is heavily informed by or heavily a metaphor for sexuality. But I think there's more stuff going on here too. Like I mentioned the Animalian stuff earlier, and it's like I feel like there's, you had mentioned also the professor when he's like, well, I don't have sympathy for you because you had it easy. It just comes natural for you. I have more sympathy for the person who cheats off you because he's fighting to survive and all this stuff. And it's like there's a more than just sexuality. It is like Bob, you've said, like a coming of age thing.
Coming of age, yeah.
This is a smart, like being a smart student is not enough. Being like anything is not enough. You're going to come face to face with people who just don't respect you and don't want to spend the time to treat you like a human being, and you just kind of have to swallow it for a long time. You just have to fucking deal with that shit, and you take it out however you can. And for many college students, that stress is taken out in the form of taking drugs, overusing alcohol, abusing alcohol, like getting sexual, like to a fault, putting yourself in dangerous situations. Like that happens. And that's not just limited to people in college either. That's in high school. That's like just a part of growing up, even, stunted adults to some extent. So like, I don't know, there's something, I don't want to I just wanted to say that so we don't distill it completely down to sexuality, because that is heavily in the mix.
Yeah.
But it isn't everything.
I agree. I agree that it's a little more broad and not quite as fine of a point, but like it is like directly tied to her sexuality for sure, because that's a big part of coming of age. She loses her virginity in this movie. Obviously, she's like growing hair in weird places, and her sister tries to like help her out with that. So like her like dealing with that in very normal places. Right. They try to go Brazilian on her ass. She doesn't dig that very much, and she also like.
Oh my goodness! Right.
When she, a lot of times when she's actually eating human flesh, she's not doing anything sexual. She's just like eating shit and loving it. I think the only time she's like really banging it out, she bites herself, and that brings her to climax. So there is, I don't know, the sexuality is a big part of it for sure, but just like going away, doing things that she's never been allowed to do before and become her own person, I think is very much wrapped up in this movie and what they're trying to convey.
Well, also too, the movie's called Raw, and obviously, they're eating raw meat, but I mean, I don't think it's an accident to call a movie where eating meat and talking about going off to college and the consequences of not being taught properly about things is called Raw. I mean, I think that's pretty on point, right?
Yes, that's what a boy likes.
I mean, that's what I would assume, but
that could be. But again, that might be an American. I don't know that phrase crosses the pond.
Yeah,
exactly. So that's a blind spot. I just like in terms of intentionality, I'm not sure, but in terms of what we can get from it, absolutely. So,
okay.
The original title is Grave, actually. So that might just be an American title, Raw.
Well, to be fair though, maybe that is a kind of slang term for.
Well, yeah, what do they call orgasms? Is like a little death.
Yeah, little small death. So the grave could
or something.
Yeah,
pretty sure they call them rigatoonies.
So yeah, maybe that's a similar type of sexual slang that.
I don't know. That's all speculation on our part.
It is,
but like,
but
as far as what we take from it, I totally agree that whoever decided on that particular name change, I feel like definitely had.
Yeah.
I think that had to have crossed their mind, if not the first thing they thought of.
They're both like sins of the flesh, right? It's a very literal line to draw.
Yeah. Well, so to go to another aspect of it, though, because Randy brought up something that I hadn't considered, so I thought it'd be fun to kind of discuss it, because I always have just heavily correlated those things to, nope, this is just a type of metaphor for this, and that's kind of what it means, and it didn't really take anything else from that. But she does have that conversation where she's talking about the idea of she's there and everybody's studying to be a vet, and her whole conversation is like, Well, no, I mean, a man who, I mean, if somebody raped a monkey or a chimpanzee, it would be just as bad as if they raped a woman. Now, if we're talking about the morality of how we treat animals, all these people are studying to be vets, and yet we're all consuming meat. Where, if we're thinking of a higher plane of, well, we don't have to eat meat. You know, we don't have to, we can all survive. She's lived her whole life eating vegetables. She wants to be a vegetarian. And even at this veterinarian school, she's struggling to be a veterinarian, you know, even the food choices that are offered, and stuff like that. And so that kind of plays into that conversation of she's the one, she's kind of surprised, like, I'm the only one who thinks,
Yeah.
you know, raping a
Yeah.
chimpanzee is equivalent to raping a woman, and nobody else seems to think so. I do think there is this kind of aspect of touching on, you know, how we treat animals, the morality of how we treat animals within this setting.
Oh yeah, I think the
Yeah.
blurred lines between animal and human are absolutely an intentional focal point, and I think that it's like her devolving into sort of this like this creature at certain points. It's true to the extent that we all have like impulses that we have to control, things, all those things that we talked about before, and things we have to learn about ourselves and like figure out for ourselves. But it's also true that like animals behave that way, and so like if the minute she crosses the barrier between not eating anything that, you know, any animal or anything, any meat at all, to eating just a little bit of meat, it's like it sets off a switch, and it's not just a sexual switch, it's like a consumption switch where like, okay, well, I don't see a difference between humanity and animals, so if I get a chance to eat a human, what's the fucking difference?
Yeah,
Like,
I
exactly.
think that's a great moment in the movie when she like gets her sister's finger and like drinks a little blood out of it. And you see like a light bulb turn on. It's like game on. Like her whole life is now different. And I mean, that is kind of a sexual
When she-
thing too, but you know,
dude, when she got caught by her sister, I was like
yeah.
just grimacing.
That
Oh,
single tear roll
you
down.
don't
her
come
ass.
back from that unless she's also a cannibal, I guess.
What
I don't think
luck,
most
I
people get a
guess.
second bite at the apple after they, you know, consume a body part of a family member, but you know.
She
Well,
wasn't using it.
Yeah. Well, also too, the idea of, I mean, we see her this kind of transformation too, and I think it captures the idea of, you know, it's so easy to kind of sit back and say like, don't do that, or why would you do that, or why do people give into these impulses or these urges? But even outside the realm of eating people, I mean, we see her. I really like the scene where she's putting the makeup on and she's kind of trying to be sexy, and the song that she's listening to is talking about, was it talking about like raping a man or
Talking about
something
dead,
like that,
fucking
Corpses.
dead
fucking a
things.
dead corpse? Yeah, fucking a
Yeah.
corpse. Yeah. And she's trying to be sexy and wearing her sister's clothes and stuff like that. So this transformation, this dealing with like urges while still being the person that you are and things like that, it's very well done. I think it's very well done too, because I don't particularly like the main characters in this movie. They're sympathetic, they're absolutely sympathetic, but the only person I really like and like totally feel for is Adrian, who
Adrian is a
like,
fucking saint.
yeah,
Yeah.
but I think they use him in a good light too, because he's not as good of a student, and he's not kind of as thoughtful in the ways of, you know, morality and stuff like that, but he's the absolute best person. He's always there for her. You know, even though she kind of treats him like shit, he's there kind of for both of them. He seems like just an overall good dude.
Overly.
Yeah, but I love that they use that, because she does these subtle little scenes. Like there's this one time where they are dissecting a dog, and he is really troubled by it. So he's already like applying to be you know, this veterinarian. He's in this highly skilled veterinarian school, and yeah, there's this dog on the table and he's really struggling with it.
Mhm.
And you can tell from like a morality standpoint, like where so it's almost like the girl is willing to say, well, yeah, animals are like people, and that's my moral stance. But it's like he actually feels it. He sees this dog almost like he would see a human, like it makes him equally as comfortable. And I think that's a good kind of dichotomy there, the split between like what is said and like what is actually felt and how you actually live. But I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
There's something to that. I think there's something to that. I think that same scene, you could look at it and be like, this is her devolving again. Like this is her being, she's accepting more and more of stuff that she wouldn't have accepted before. She's engaging in more activity that she never would have thought of to do before, and absolutely would have been repulsed by herself doing. Like, to me, it's like, and he's not there yet. He's just kind of like, because he has been, like, to your earlier point, he has been engaged with 20 years of hiding himself, and he has since come out of that closet. He's a gay man who wants to be involved with men. He is clearly in some level bisexual, because I think he has sex with both of these girls, if I'm understanding it correctly, at least with
he definitely had sex with Justine.
Justine,
I don't know if he slept with her sister. I mean,
I'm not sure.
She grills him about it, and he kind of gives a non-committal response, sort of like kind of like that made me think that he might have. But then that's right before he storms out and says, "Look, I've been fighting being gay for 20 years.
Yeah.
I want to be with a guy. Fuck you," and just walks away from that, which good for him. But also, like, to go back to the girls' relationship and his role within that, I really love, like, that this is they have this like romantic rivalry for this guy that doesn't really want either of them, but who has physically engaged with at least one of them, maybe two, at least is like very friendly with both of them. And they have, like, as much as he doesn't want to be a part of it, like they're like a combination of Justine's sister, their relationship being sort of like semi-caustic, sibling rivalry stuff, and impulse control issues because of how they're reacting to their schooling, leads them to permanently damage a sweet and caring person that they both care about, to the point where he's no longer in their life. That sounds like something that sisters might share in real life quite a bit.
He's dead.
Well,
yeah.
I'm trying to make it like one-to-one with like with like a romantic relationship that might happen in the real world. Like,
okay. I just want to make sure for sure. Yeah, you knew he was.
No,
dead.
he's a dead character, but like the correlation in the real world is that he's like been romantically fucked up and like has to live with his own emotional scars, presumably, if he's in the real world. And it's a romantic relationship, not a cannibalistic relationship.
Well, also that scene, it's just smart, and it's clever kind of way where she tries to kind of pull the card of, which we saw in Fresh, the phrase kind of like, "You're treating me like a piece of meat," because she's like, "Is that the way you're gonna treat someone? Like, you deflowered her?" And he was like, "Bitch, let me fucking tell you, like, you are using me. Like, if anything, you're taking advantage." Exactly. You're taking advantage of me, and I have to fucking now put my foot down and just like get the fuck out of here.
I thought the ending sequence was interesting. When Justine wakes up, she finds her sister. She like thinks about killing her, but her sister's like almost in this like fugue state. Like she's either like can't believe what the fuck she did, or she's got like some extreme version of the itis because she just ate like 40 ounces of thigh meat. And she's like bathing her sister in the shower, and she's just like totally unresponsive. It's a weird moment of like understanding and accepting what has happened, but also like not really being okay with it. I guess she calls the cops because she goes to jail.
Yeah, she goes to jail. Like, I mean, well, they're gonna find a dead body in her dorm room.
Sure, yeah.
So something's gonna happen there. But like that again goes back to what I was saying earlier, where it's like this guy gets like taken out in dramatic fashion, and then they pick up the pieces of their own lives between each other with a level of mutual understanding and shared trauma, basically. So like to me, that sounds on some level like a bunch of stories you might hear around a college campus with siblings around. So I don't know.
Well, even going back to that ending scene again to kind of bring it full circle in a way, but even then the mom is not willing to address it. the sister's in jail, and it's almost like that
Yeah.
kind of thing of like, why couldn't you control
Yeah.
yourself? Why couldn't you deal with it? The mom's still just telling her daughter to eat her veggies. You're not gonna, and she's more stern. You're not gonna leave the table until you eat your veggies. And it's the dad who finally is like, hey, okay, we need to actually have a talk about it. So I do think that that is a prominent message in this film. I liked another moment too in the film, or well, this kind of correlation of when they blame the dog for the finger and the dog is put down and the mom is like
Dude.
really sad about it, talking about kind of comes back to the ideas about how we treat animals, how we treat humans, where it's like, well, we'll put the dog down and like we can't let this dog live. The sister kills and eats a human being, goes to jail, obviously, but I just that's another smart correlation between those two things.
Dude, that the text that fucking Justine's sister sends her
Yeah.
about the dog, and that's so like cavalierly shitty, is like one of the most baffling things in this movie to me, because like I understand that these people are not okay. Like I understand that. But this is like, it's a family pet that you brought with you to college and you've been living
Yeah.
with for a year, I think, and you LOL away the fact that you got it killed through, or that this like you got a perfectly innocent animal killed that you supposedly love and have lived with for a year. That's extremely troubling that she reacted that way. It just really got to me, I think.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing
don't
too.
know.
Like I said, these characters, they're not likable. They're sympathetic, and they have these moments where you absolutely feel kind of gutted for what they're going through, or can understand through a metaphorical sense of what they're going through. But they're not likable. I don't like Justine. I don't like her sister. Adrian is the only person who
There's
is likable. But yeah, it is kind of a weird moment because she is kind of cold, but yeah, she was living with the dog. Like she loved it enough to bring it to school with her. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
kind of weird.
I don't know, man. It's just a very it's a very layered dip here that you can really kind of dig into in a number of different ways, and that's what's so great about it. Obviously, like that we can have another hour and a half of conversation on top of this and still not completely scratch it. But I'm assuming, based on Bob's face, that that's not going to happen.
It's like a nice Mexican dip. You can just really get in there. No, I mean, we got maybe a couple more minutes. One thing I was wondering is, whenever Adrian and Justine go to the store to get shawarma or whatever meat they eat, they pass a car accident on that road. And then later on, we see like why that was. That's how the movie opens. So like multiple car accidents on the same stretch of road. How long has Alexia like been in school? Like how many car accidents has she caused? Like wouldn't they start to get suspicious? Like how many cars have ran into this tree on this sleepy two-lane
And have
road?
bites taken out of them.
Yeah, like what animal do they think like is doing? Like, you know, wouldn't they? I feel like they'd have like a camera set or like a cop posted up at least.
Yeah.
Or like,
I mean,
know,
you can
something.
obviously tell human teeth too from
I mean,
teeth.
I'm no
if you notice,
scientist.
that's true. No, but the thing is, like, the one time we actually see them interact with one of the crashed cars and like enjoy themselves, it's just Justine's sister that actually like goes in for a taste, and it's in an existing head wound. So take from that what you will, is all I'm saying. Like maybe she's smart enough to cover her tracks a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, obviously, like this is clearly all very reckless behavior. So they're not fully thinking through the potential consequences. This is a reaction to her finding out her sister is willing to eat her own sister's finger. But Justine is willing to eat her finger. She's like, holy shit, we've got a lot more in common than I thought. Let me show you what I've been up to, because we're in the same boat now. And like, again, trying to like guide her sister through in a way that she's discovered on how to move forward. So
well,
I don't know,
that's an important aspect too, because it's so reckless. It's so not well thought out, but it's clearly the signs of somebody who has not been guided, who
evil.
Is doing the best thing that she thinks she can do, even though we clearly look at it and say like, that's fucking stupid. But that, you know, kids, you know.
I mean, I remember when I was trying to cause major pileups on
when
the
I was
highway.
trying to eat flesh.
It's best just to skip over the animals and eat human flesh. Just go right to the good stuff.
Yeah.
You won't regret it, let me tell you. Okay, yeah, I mean,
touch me.
Not like that. No teeth, please. We can go ahead and
Don't
land
lie.
this. Land
Love
this.
extra teeth.
Extra teeth. You caught me. Famously known for my love of teeth. They don't freak me out at all. Let's go ahead and land this plane. Out of 5, Juice, why don't you kick us off? How do you feel about Raw?
Yeah, I really like this film. I think it holds up well. I think it's very clever. I think it's well written. I think it's just another aspect too. I mean, well, we touched on it, but the fact that a woman directed this is very clear, and it gives it just this different feeling that's just, it's hard to describe. But I mean, a lot of the time, I mean, this movie has a lot of strong sexual aspects of it, but in some way it kind of reminded me of the scene from Alien. And I remember when we talked about Alien where what's Sigourney Weaver is getting undressed and she's kind of standing in her underwear, but it's not particularly sexual. The underwear is like too big or too small or something. It doesn't fit her. Where and it's just kind of like the way it
You
is.
need it just right.
Well,
Standard issue from the company
but
stuff.
yeah, but in this movie, I mean, we get a lot of scenes of Justine in bed in her underwear, but we get it in a very kind of like just natural sense, even them looking at her hair. And when she's laying down, she's got her arm up, she's got her underarm hair, and them looking at her bikini line and her hair's coming out, and just and her stomach peeling, and the body gore that's in this. I just it just feels more natural. It's not like this woman is put on this girl is put on this pedestal or anything like that. It's just she's a human being. This is how she sleeps and walks around and lives.
It's just a movie that's clearly not directed by a straight male.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
that's what's clear about it.
It's not focusing on the ass shot in the underwear or whatever.
Yeah,
You know,
it
the
has
panty
quite a
line.
few of them.
Yeah,
many
but
of
it's
them.
not like,
But it's
but yeah,
not-
that's not the.
It's
sight.
naturalistic.
Yeah, it is. I like that. And because it really, I think, serves the purpose of the sexual aspect of this film, which is tied into this metaphor and this message and all these things, which I think is very brilliant and a very smart way to do it. In the same way that I thought like Fresh was so smart and clever and how it was kind of playing with these themes. I see a lot of that here. One thing we didn't talk about, I love a lot of the music cues. That song at the party when they're dancing, that one has been on my playlist for a while, I think since the first time I ever watched this movie. Now the one about fucking a corpse, didn't ever follow that one, but I mean, just like how music is used in this film is pretty effective. I think she captures this youthful feel, the hazing and the like, kind of like going through the steps of just like being accepted, just like trying to fucking eat your breakfast, just trying to study. And then, yeah, taking that out. I mean, these people force you into this closet with this person. But you're like, hey, I kind of want to make out with somebody. It would be kind of cool to have this excuse to just let loose and kind of breaking down those barriers. And yeah, just like we said, a coming of age story. I think that's all captured very, very well. We didn't touch a lot on the negatives. Randy did kind of touch on this a little bit, and it is something that's kind of drop it down a little bit. I think the messages are very good in this, but you do have to suspend a decent amount of belief. Like, I just can't accept that even when she goes to see the nurse and the nurse sees this physical, she's been covered in blood, she's had to eat this food and it's causing this rash on this girl, and she's just like, yeah, the first semester is really tough. And like the teachers would let people walk around in diapers and blood. And I get that you need that for the message, but it's just too much. I just can't accept that a whole school would accept that. And maybe I'm naive. Maybe that's what happens. I just find it really hard to believe. I really like Adrian, and I feel so bad for him, and I think that that's an effective he provides a lot of effective emotional weight to this film through several different scenes and several different themes and aspects. And yeah, overall, I think this movie's really good, and it's just got a little bit of problems with like trying to fit it all in with maybe like it not being so believable in some aspects. So I'm gonna give it a 4-star with a half star for the Yabos, man with the code. So 4.5 for Shaboy Soju.
Nice. 4.5.
Bomb out of 5. What you gonna give? Raw.
Hit it.
Yeah, I like this movie quite a bit. This was definitely in my top 10 back in 2017. I think it got like a wide release in 2017. It really reminds me a lot of like kind of an updated version of Ginger Snaps, which is another movie I'm a big fan of. It's two sisters coming of age movie. Their coming of age is very much tied to becoming a werewolf, and like this is the same thing, just with being a cannibal. I think the effects, the practical effects, are like super good. It's all like really believable. Like when she's covered head to toe in those rashes and she's like scratching at them, it like makes me so uncomfortable to fucking watch that stuff. Her eating the chicken, eating the finger, the leg, the thigh at the end of the movie, like with the bone. It's just like all done really well. It's fucking hard to look at. I feel like this is more like Cronenberg type porn here. I feel like he would love this body horror kind of stuff. I mean, we covered the coming of age aspects of this movie to death. I think it's really well done. Super interesting talking more about the mom and like why she might avoid having these difficult conversations and what that might mean metaphorically. A really interesting aspect of the movie. The soundtrack is baller. There's just like a random scene in this movie. I don't know if it's really there for any reason, but when they go to the hospital to have Alexia's fingers sewn up, there's an old man like sitting in the waiting room, and he pops his dentures out at Justine and kind of freaks her out, and he gets a really good laugh out of it. He fucking is so pleased with himself. I was just talking about this with my parents today. My grandpa did that to me when I was like 6, and I was horrified. I bawled my eyes out. It just was like a random
My
thing.
grandma did that to me.
It's just, they love it. I didn't love it. I don't know.
I don't think she meant to scare me, but she did.
Yeah, that shit happens. All the hazing is super fucking brutal in this movie, and it is hard to believe that like the professors would roll with it, because typically, at least in like American culture, like it's extremely frowned upon. Like if teachers get wind of it, like they shut it down because people fucking die, and it's just really unacceptable to like turn a blind eye to anymore. So maybe it's not that way in Europe. I don't know. The scene where she's like pulling so much hair out of her throat is a little unbelievable to me, because you see her like kind of chewing on her hair a little bit, but she pulls out so much fucking hair. It's a little like we gotta reference the ring in this moment.
I forgot about that scene. That's a weird scene too, where the girl teaches her kind of how to throw up. That's strange.
Oh, I think that's just another person dealing with the stresses of college life.
That's
in an unhealthy
that's
way.
fair.
True.
That's very fair. There like several car accidents on that one stretch of road. Like I don't know if maybe we'll know that over again. Overall, I think this movie's great though. Great performances. I have very minimal negatives to mention. I'm going to come in with a 4.5 out of 5 as well. I really like this movie. It's totally worth watching.
There was one more thing since we didn't before, Randy, is that when the nurse is talking to her about the girl who was like fat or whatever,
overweight,
chubby,
yeah.
and they couldn't. I was like, "Fuck!"
Yeah, the adults.
So
what
sad,
is going on?
Stuck in this movie. Yeah, like god damn.
I don't know, man. That's fucked up.
Ooh,
that whole story was like it was a little incongruous, maybe, but I don't know. I've been using that.
Yeah,
word too much.
a little. Just like wanting to be normal, and these are all the ways people.
Yeah,
are
I guess so, yeah.
or just another way of like dealing with the stress and stuff. Yeah,
Sure. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But Randy, out of 5, how do you feel?
Yeah, I feel largely the same as you guys. I think that like some of the stuff I haven't talked about specifically, but like I did mention earlier that the gore in this impacted me more than it does in other ones. And I think it's like the surgical setting to some degree, because one thing, the line that my brain draws is, if it's like in a film, I can pretty much handle anything in a fictionalized film, even if it looks real or whatever. For the most part, I'll grimace a little bit, but I'll be okay. This one, I grimace a lot harder than normal because it's so adjacent to medical stuff, and I cannot cross that barrier. I've seen medical shows, I've seen surgical surgeries on TV for some reason. That in the 90s that was a big deal, and my family would watch surgeries on TV for some reason, and it was horrific, and I couldn't watch it.
What the
The reality of it was too much for me to deal with. Like, that's somebody's chest that is open. And then
Yeah.
and then like you said, the skin thing, like, holy
Look,
shit,
Betty, you have gonorrhea.
it's fucked up, and it's like extremely well done to the point where it's indiscernible from a real life sore, from as far as I can tell. And it's all it took was that, and then the skin peeling scene. I'm like, I'm done. Holy shit, that's too much for me. So yeah, props on that stuff. The performances are great. The music is great. I really like that song about fucking corpses. I thought it was a great moment for her.
They say
for that character, like, she's like on this high of having eaten flesh, and she's like feeling herself, and she's making out with herself and like listening, and like, but she doesn't see life, other people's lives, as all that important. It's all about, like, doing what she's doing. I'm sorry, Rob, I might have cut you off.
I was just, one of the lines on that song that was translated says like, fuck 69, give me 666.
Yeah, that's a great line. That's a great line.
We're hunting for dick.
Yeah,
it's true. It's true.
So yeah, I think that I don't know. I don't have a ton of negatives for this movie. I'm still kind of riding the high. I watched it this morning. I think that, like, it's a little inscrutable at times, and there is some, like, I think there is, if I was to really investigate it, some cultural disconnect maybe with my understanding of this movie and what, like, the French populace might think of this movie in general. And for that, I feel like uncertain in my footing in a lot of, like, some of the, like, more subtleties, but I still really like it a lot. And I think that you can get a lot out of it, even removing it from that aspect. So to me, I think it's like a 4.25 is what I'm feeling right now. So we're right in the same area. I have no code, so no bonus points.
Lower that average, Randy.
That's right.
Thanks, buddy. So with Randy's 4.5, that's going to put us at a 4.25. That's going to put us at a 4.4. Logan did choose this movie for us this week, and she sent in a voicemail with her thoughts. Let's go ahead and hear what she has to say.
What is up, Straight Chillin' crew? Did you guys ever think that we were going to see the day where y'all finally covered Raw? Because I didn't. But here we are, and I'm very happy that not only are y'all covering it, but I also get a say. I am a big fan of Julia Ducournau, so I was very happy to get to pick this movie for you guys, but also I am definitely wanting to pick her other movie, Titan, for you guys, because that movie slays just as much as this one. But I really like that this movie kind of touches on what it's like to be a sheltered child going into the world for your first time, because that was kind of something that I experienced. And while I know Julia's original intent for this movie was not for it to necessarily be a horror, like, she just wanted to disturb people, but given, at least for me personally, I have a lot of issues surrounding food and eating new things and eating just things in general, so, like, this movie was a horror to me. But also I love the relationships that Justine has with not only her sister, but, like, her roommate and her parents, specifically her dad. And, like, the ending scene that she has with her dad is, like, one of my favorite moments in movies ever. But, yeah, so all this to say, I think the acting's amazing, the settings are amazing, the writing, all those good things. I think that I'm going to land on a 4 for this one. Honestly, I'm just really happy that I got to watch this movie again. I didn't think that I would ever be able to watch it, but I kind of had to for this, and I'm very glad that I did. So, yeah, I hope y'all have a good day, and I can't wait to hear y'all's thoughts on Raw. We'll find a solution for you, honey.
Thanks, Logan.
Thank you, the headmistress herself. Appreciate you.
If you're at home right now wondering why you've never seen your dad without a shirt on and he never likes to go swimming, ask him if he's into BDSM. And
he might be wearing nipple clamps right now.
He might be. Why do you ask, Tony? Why do you ask? I don't
Either that
know.
or he's wearing a wire. He's wired for the FBI.
Oh, my goodness. Right in the spine.
Damn. Yeah, thanks for picking this week's flick again, Logan. Finally got to talk about Raw. It's been years coming, years in the making.
Yeah, very grateful.
Yep.
Good
It
shit.
can finally
you.
stop taking up real estate on our goddamn polls.
I know. Now we'll move it towards Casper. Now it's just we're spamming Casper.
Oh
You wanna
god,
watch Satan
Juice's
or Casper?
picks are gonna kill us.
I've got a
all.
list of just like I'm just gonna keep hammering y'all with it until we get it.
Yeah, we love getting hammered.
I know
Thanks.
you do,
Yeah. Let's go ahead and jump into our Rotten Tomatoes segment, see what the critics and users think about Raw.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is the Rotten Tomatoes segment in which I'm going to have these gentlemen guess within the best of their abilities what the aggregate positive score is on RottenTomatoes.com. And you may notice every week I make that particular claim that it's the aggregate of positive scores because that is how Rotten Tomatoes is gauged. And if you read a recent Vulture article about Rotten Tomatoes, you might find that people are surprised to hear this. And I don't really fully understand why. It's not that well concealed, but I guess people just kind of take it as the general. I don't know. To me, it's like a survey of like 93% of people like this movie. 50% of people like this movie. 23%. So you get a general idea of like what. Yeah, it's an average, but not of their like 1 to 100% score.
Yeah.
It's not a measure of quality. It's a measure of
If
number
everybody
of people
had a
who
pick,
like,
yeah.
like a percentage of people who find it not objectionable. So yeah, it's not the most useful metric, but it is one that you should probably understand if you're going to use it. I just want to point that out.
Let us teach you about Rotten Tomatoes.
Anyway, so we have here both the critics and user score. We're going to start with the critics. There are 201 reviews to count here. I'm going to start with Bob tonight. Bob, why don't you tell me what do you think the aggregate positive score is for those 201 reviews? How many of these 201 people, or what percentage of them, think it's a good movie? Or at least not a terrible movie?
I think critics are going to dig this because it's like, it's horny and it's violent, but it's foreign, so it's okay. Like, it's okay to like it.
You have very high opinion of people in this profession.
I'm gonna go nuts with a 90.
90. All right. Juice, what about you? You going over? You going under?
90. I agree with Bob. I think it's gonna get that European boost, that French language boost, but 90 is a little high for such a brutal movie like this. I'm gonna take The Boys at 86.
86 boys. All right. Well, let's see.
We're out of boys.
One of you is only 3 points from glory here, so very close. 93% is correct. Bob's gonna take this one.
Must have been them Yabos.
Yeah, critics are pervs.
I got a hell skeet.
Hell
I want to pay you $100 to fuck off.
Yes.
Let's not
move on to
sweep any skeet this week, though.
Let's see.
Let's find out. Audience score. There are 5,000 plus ratings here, so this one definitely has quite a bit more. Bob, I'm sorry, Juice, we'll start with you this time. What do you think the aggregate positive score is from those movies? From those reviews, rather.
Yeah, this is going to be lower for sure. I'm going to say 80.
80, all right. Bob, where are you coming in on this?
Yeah, people don't like to read, and sometimes they get weird when you're eating humans while banging.
Okay.
But then again, you got Seinfeld where like George was trying to eat a sandwich while banging, so like, there's layers here. Where do you draw the line in the sand? I guess that's
depends on how long you've been going. If you got a calorie up real quick.
Sometimes you need a quick carbo.
I'm exhausted. I gotta slam some pasta mid-stroke. Hang on.
I gotta jam some fettuccine in my mouth.
I keep it in the drawer.
Keep ramming.
Inside. With a microwave. Oh man.
Anyway, Bob, score.
80 is what you said, Juice? Is that?
Yeah. Yep.
80. I'll take the over, but not much, man. I'll go not. I'll take 83.
83. All right, our winning participant is only 4 points from Glory this time. 4 points. That score being 76%. Juice is going to handle this one on his own.
Oh yeah, that's a hell yeah, Bob.
Well, hell yeah.
No sweeping this week.
We're gonna have to lay the janitor off because there's just no sweeping.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to keep that bump around. That's my reality show bad news sound effect. When somebody
for
says something
explaining
stupid
that.
or wrong. Yeah, that's anytime somebody like on Kitchen Nightmares cooks the risotto wrong, it makes that sound. And Ramsey's like, oh bollocks, oh bollocks, blah 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 blah.
Oh, bollocks. You donkey. You donkey.
It's my
Must
favorite.
start
It's
calling
also
y'all
what the
donkeys.
sound effect they play whenever somebody on like Trading Spaces or some shit gets a terrible room and they're like, oh, I don't like it. It's great. Reality TV's awesome, is what I'm saying. All right, moving. This critics' consensus reads as follows: Raw's lurid violence and sexuality live up to its title, but they're anchored with an immersive atmosphere and deep symbolism that linger long after the provocative visuals fade. I think that's reasonable to say.
Yeah.
You guys think?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, with that, there's only one thing left to do, and that's to read some negative reviews and see if there's anything funny in these negative comments, as there hopefully will be. Reading at random, there's a few here too. Okay, here's one. The plot lurches from gross out to gross out with little wit and less logic. That's not funny, and it's also not right. So,
Incorrect.
God damn it. God damn it. God damn it. Okay, one more. Hopefully this one will be better. Okay. I did not barf, but I did check my watch a few times. God damn, get back to your hardcore porn festival, I guess. What do you want? Like what?
This movie is not boring.
No, it's
all.
many things, but like it has kind of everything. Like this movie has car accidents, it has cannibals.
People
It
covered in
has
blood.
People covered in blood. It has sexuality. It has dick hunters.
It has
We're
a woman
hunting
just
for dick.
a woman just pulling shit out of a cow's ass. It's got everything.
I mean, what else could you possibly want? I don't know how you can see this as boring. That's ridiculous.
What a
got
bunch of donkeys.
We are donkeys.
It's fucking love!
All right, that's Rotten Tomatoes.
Sweet. There's just a little bit of trivia. Let's go ahead and jump into it.
It's totally time for trivia.
All right. The raw chicken that Justine pulls out of the fridge and eats was not raw chicken. Have no fear.
Thank God.
It was apparently made of sugar, and it was so sugary it put her off eating sweets for allegedly the rest of her life. I don't buy it.
Well.
So that's what she said. So,
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know. That it looks like raw meat is maybe a little added off-puttingness to
Could
it,
be,
but
could be.
sure.
It did. I mean, yeah, I can imagine it was something like wet taffy or some shit. Like, I guess that makes sense.
It looked like chicken. That'd be a cool thing to make.
That really
for
bothered Rob. The raw chicken, no, but the wet
Yeah,
taffy,
wet taffy.
can't have it.
to make for Halloween or something. Yeah, Halloween party.
Oh,
That'd be
yeah.
fun.
that's true. Maybe I'll do that for my Halloween party. Is just go as a cannibal and walk around eating fucking
Just eating
Pounding
chicken.
wet
chicken.
taffy.
Wet taffy Randy. I gave her the old wet taffy.
Wet taffy, Randy.
I gave
You
it to
gotcha,
her.
Granny. All right.
So apparently, at a screening in Gothenburg, at the Gothenburg Film Festival, several attendants in the audience fainted and vomited. Over 30 people walked out permanently.
Jesus Christ.
And they had to take a break mid-screening, I guess, because people were just losing their mind. You always hear about this kind of thing at like foreign film festivals, people puking in the theaters and stuff. I feel like this is fabricated largely. I don't buy most of it. Do you guys?
The only thing I could suspect is, at least with the festival things, you kind of go in a little blind. There might be not all of them have a trailer. You might be going in for the director or something. But
I don't know.
I just as somebody fainting in a movie, it's like if you're
Yeah.
that sensitive, maybe you shouldn't go into a blind movie.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I think there's quite a few people in this world that don't have nearly the stomach for this sort of thing that we do. And if they're taken by surprise at a festival that's not specifically geared towards horror and gore and that sort of thing, and they're not expecting it, I mean, I can see people reacting that way. I do think that if it does happen, if it has happened for this one, for example, if I was Julia Ducournau and I heard that somebody vomited in my movie, I would put that shit on every box. Because
Well, that's what people
great
do, and
marketing.
that's why I think
Right.
it's kind of fabricated. Because like,
I think
Yeah.
I think
If
it
people are
has been
excited.
fabricated for sure. I
Yeah.
don't think that it's impossible that this movie had that happen though.
Also, too, that's the one place, or like that's the place you cannot have cameras out. So, no proof.
Yeah.
Can't disprove it.
People
How
were jumping off
convenient.
the walls. I saw a
How
guy shot the other
convenient.
guy in the balls.
God damn. We need to go to that festival next, whatever that is.
Yep.
Oh my goodness! Right in the spine.
Right in the
Sign me up for
spine.
that one.
The Ball Slap Festival, 2024. The
Oof.
last bit I have here is about that band about fucking corpses. So yeah, and the scene where she's dancing in the mirror is she's listening to the gothic rock rap duo called Ortiz, Orties. It's a band consisting of two twin sisters, and they allegedly often rap about men in the traditional way male rappers talk about women in their songs. I don't
Hell
know
yeah.
if like fucking corpses is traditional necessarily.
Yeah,
but
there's
that's-
not a
Well,
lot of
if-
rappers that talk about
If you're
fucking dead
goth,
bodies.
I guess. Like you said, they were goth duo, right? Like
goth rock
rap.
rap duo is how they're described.
So
in
you
this,
put
yeah.
goth into the mix, and I could see, yeah, like Cannibal Corpse or somebody might sing about that sort of shit. I don't know.
Yeah, that song was intense, man. That shit was.
It made me laugh, and like I think based on what you just said, that was definitely intentional, and like within the context of the movie, it worked really, really well.
Yeah.
No notes, loved it.
Fit the scene. Buy their shit on vinyl, Randy. You might like it.
I might. I don't want to
Do
open
it.
any Pandora's boxes and start eating wet taffy all the
I
time.
need dead dick now. That's all the trivia.
That's a good bump.
Bumps.
Don't do it.
Bob,
Don't
you give us a
you do it.
lot of bumps.
Rob, you really cut loose out here. You're getting loose today.
I'm crazy. I'm insane. So yeah, that's all the trivia. Let's go ahead and talk Cooter of the week.
Straight chillin'. Gooder of the week.
Juice. What is a cooter and why do we hunt them?
Oh, Cooter is a character type and a straight chillin' exclusive. Cooter must hit 3 of these 5 points to be considered a cooter, but we want the cooter with the most points. 5 points of cooterdom are sexual deviance, manipulation, smug arrogance, overall looking attire, and overall patheticness. Boys, is there a cooter in Raw? I think we can get us one.
I think we can snag a cooter in this movie. Sure. Got a couple
Everybody.
candidates. Yeah, like the top of the heap in my mind is and I can't. The whole time we've been doing this, I haven't been able to remember her name.
Justine.
But Justine's sister,
Alexia.
Alexia. She's got a little extra manip going on, which on top of Julian.
Emphasize the
Juliet's.
nip. Yeah.
Manip. A little extra
Okay.
manip.
Yeah, she's got manipulation. She's definitely pretty smug and smarmy throughout this. She has one. It's that like sophomore smugness that comes with like treating the freshmen like shit
Yeah,
because
yeah.
you just can now.
Yeah.
The vicious cycle, etc. Let's see what else. What are other?
Well, she
categories?
films her sister, with doing the dog thing.
Yeah, what
I
the
mean,
fuck?
that's really fucked up.
Yeah.
That is really
that,
fucked up.
that should get you there alone, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, you're a fucking cooter.
Yeah.
That's terrible.
Also, too, the way I don't know which point this hit, the dog thing. We're all dog lovers, and her laughing about the dog getting murdered is not chill.
Yeah,
No.
yeah, she can eat my ass for that one. And she would. But yeah, the sexual
wet taffy
deviancy.
ass.
Dude, she's gonna take a big old bite out of that bushy.
Oh, that
ass.
wet taffy.
Take some wet taffy. home with you. So sexual deviancy. I mean, it's unclear. I think there's a reasonable chance that she and Julian did the deed,
Yeah.
and that seemed like a betrayal to Juliet, certainly, because they had definitely had a conversation
Justine.
about that.
And Adrian, you're just making
Fucking all over the place, all over the place. These all our names. So yeah, so sexual deviancy I think is in there. Smug arrogance certainly, manipulation certainly. Looking attire, I think nobody in this movie outside of like people who are forced to wear ridiculous shit is dressed too oddly. And patheticness, I think, I don't know, like on a moral ground I would find them pathetic, but I don't know that they're like, they kind of get away with murder. So or if she doesn't, I guess. I don't know. What do you guys clock? Anybody clock just Julian?
I mean, I think Justine. I think Justine easily can hit.
Uh-oh. Bob, you there? Oh,
Bob?
boy. Oh, boy.
He's on
This
there.
is how the human sausage gets made.
Bob.
Oh, no.
Oh, Bob.
I hope it's recorded at least up until that point, so we don't have to go backwards at all. Oh, well.
Just his audio's going. Burp.
See if he's texting at all.
No, I got nothing so far. I was just checking my phone. Oh, I gotta let him in. Maybe the computer like rebooted or some shit.
Something, yeah. It seemed like something like that. Yeah. Hello.
Can you hear us?
Yeah, there we go.
What happened?
Zoom just crashed.
Oh, okay.
And then it came back up and it did that thing where it's like, I can't find your microphone or your camera. And it's like built into
Bob, we told you, don't watch porn.
No, not again.
On that computer. It's dedicated to Zoom. Okay.
I'll do whatever I
Xvid.com will wait for some other computer, Bob, okay?
Stop searching wet taffy booties on.
I will never.
Big old dongs.
I think you were about to talk about patheticness, Randy, before I got cut off.
I talk about what? I honestly don't know what I was saying because I got so distracted. So we can roll it back if you want. I don't know where we left off. Oh, patheticness. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I was about to prompt you guys. We can start there. You good?
Hang on 1 second.
You'll have to cut a little bit, but I'll just go back to asking you guys if you saw anything pathetic going on. And you started saying Justin, certainly. We can Justine rather.
Okay.
We'll do that.
Yeah, that works. I'll point to you.
Cool. So I don't know, like, is there do you guys clock patheticness going on in here or what? I mean, aside from the morality of the issue.
The one, I mean, Justine definitely seems more pathetic, or like instances, and it's because she's in that position of the freshman where she's kind of forced to do these things. She's wearing a diaper around, she's making out with the guy in the closet. I don't know. She just has more moments where she's kind of like put upon, I guess. But and she doesn't really stand up for herself ever, I guess. So that's kind of pathetic, I guess.
Think so. I think that's like, okay, here's my pitch. I think the entire veterinarian college is a cooter. I think that the hazing that goes on kind of hits all the boxes in some way or another.
Yeah. Sexual deviance for sure.
Manipulation.
Manipulation.
And
smug arrogance. Looking attire.
Yeah.
They force people to wear diapers and shit. And it's pathetic.
Yeah.
It's a pathetic.
It's our school cooter.
Yeah. Cooter Academy. Lock it up.
Cooter Academy, the establishment. We are locking up the establishment.
Fighting the man.
That's right.
Fighting City Hall.
Fighting schools. We're shutting schools down.
We need to burn books.
Fuck you.
Fuck you. Fuck you.
We're cleaning up this swamp.
Yeah. Don't learn. Just do what we say.
Lock up the academy. We are done. Bob, what do we got? What's next?
fantastic. We did a great job today, boys.
Real
I'm
good,
proud of
real
us.
good, real good. We put the
Uh,
spotlight out there.
Let's talk about what we've been watching this week.
Hey, gang, what you been watching?
Randeezy, what you been watching?
All right. Zooming through a few that I've brought up the last few weeks. Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, still great. Righteous Gemstones, still great. How To with John Wilson, still great. All great things. I also finally got around to seeing Gerald's Game, and buddy, that is a more cootery movie than I thought it was. I was very upset with some of the things that went on in that, like appropriately. I thought it was a good movie, but it was man, it was a lot to take in, and yeah, it got a lot more in the sexual deviance category than I ever thought it would go. So yeah, that's I love Flanagan though, so and it hit all the Flanagan marks. Let's see what's next. Stand By Me. I rewatched that. That's a great fucking movie. I'm sure you guys have seen that, right? With
Oh yeah,
Stand By Me.
yeah. Okay.
It's been a while, but yeah,
Stand By Me. It's with fucking Mal.
more Stephen King.
Corey Feldman, and it's a Stephen King short story. Kids going to find a dead body.
So.
Very 50s. Kiefer Sutherland, River Phoenix, I think. Anyway, it's a great movie from the early 90s. I want to say, watch it. The Good Son, another early 90s pick. Macaulay Culkin and Shaboy, fucking Elijah Wood. Yeah,
fucking Elijah.
Dude, the juice, this is hitting all of your cooter kids, I think. And honestly, like
kids.
this is yeah, because I mean, I don't feel that way about Elijah. True.
That's fair.
Yeah, that's a fair call.
We're on a list.
But yeah, this is one that's like highly heavily like the kid, like manipulation. It's like the bad seed. Macaulay Culkin was born to play this role. I'm convinced. Like he doesn't play it any different than Kevin McAllister, and it's fucking perfect.
Yeah.
So I love this movie.
We should
it's
do that
like
one on
ridiculous.
Creature Comforts. That's a good, like, really dark.
Have me on as a guest.
That'd be
Randy,
tight.
you're on. Booking
All
your
right.
ass. Right in the middle of October, I think, is a good open time to go ahead and pencil
I have
you.
nothing going on.
Yes.
October, ever.
Wide open.
Oh yeah.
It's a wide gap
also,
in that.
The widest gap of all. October wide gap.
Mm-hmm.
Also rewatched Hereditary, as good as ever. Rewatched The Conjuring. Still have some fond memories for that one. I remember when that was like very novel approach to films in a sea of fucking torture porn adjacent shit that was going on and bad found footage. And then watched Mommy Dearest for the first time, which I don't know if you guys know that when I was on Plug It Up with Caitlin, talking about Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, we talked about this movie, the story a little bit. It's based on an autobiography of Joan Crawford's daughter, and about basically how she was a pretty fucked up and abusive mom in many ways, but not. It wasn't as damning as I thought it would be. It's fairly damning. It wasn't quite as like over the top as I kind of expected, and from what I have read, it was more over the top than the book that it was based on. So I don't know where the truth lies in this array, but it was a pretty good movie. I think it was a little dated, but otherwise I enjoyed it. And then no, that's it. That was the last one. Okay, great. I'm done. How about you, Juice?
waiting for you to hand the ball over. I watched The Fly, the Cronenberg one. I hadn't seen it in a little bit, and it's great. It's wonderful. Great performances, really fucked up shit going on there. But yeah, really good. I watched for autumn Fantastic Mr. Fox. Hadn't seen that in a little bit, and it was fun. Probably maybe not as good as I remembered it, but still fun and a good autumn watch for sure. Rewatched Baby Ruby to talk about it with Caitlin last week. That's gonna be, I didn't talk about it in the housekeeping because it's not coming out for a little bit, but yeah, that's one I did that's a newer film from this one that's kind of, I still think, going under the radar. It's got Jon Snow in it, and I did a mini cast on it, but a really good movie about the horrors of kind of motherhood, to be honest.
Jon
yeah.
Snow is a mother?
Jon Snow is a pregnant woman. He plays it perfectly. Um,
Tight.
I watched this festival of family classics. It's a Rankin Bass. Is that yeah.
Rankin Bass,
yeah. Cartoon. They do like some of those old style holiday classics or whatever, but this one was called Jack-O-Lantern. It was pretty short. It was only like 22 minutes. It was from like 1972, I believe, and it was some fun. You know, it's weird going to some of those without the nostalgic feelings towards them, but it was wild. I mean, it was a jack-o'-lantern scarecrow creature that is controlled by a leprechaun fighting ghosts and witches. So
Oh, tale as old as time.
Oh yeah, you know, standard stuff.
That's the thing about those Rankin Bass stuff. Even the stuff that I actually have nostalgia for, I kind of avoid because the adult lens on that is not charitable to it, and I just feel like it's better in memory. But like, I don't know, with these ones I haven't seen, I am kind of a little curious as much as that has.
Yeah, it's
led
fun to just kind of
negative
go
reviews from
through.
time to time.
And even though I don't have the nostalgia, like it looks in style, you know, it has some of the characters look similar stuff. So it has still little hints of it, and it's still got autumn vibes and stuff like that, the pumpkin. So it's, and for 20 minutes, it's low investment on time. Yeah. I watch it while I'm eating some cereal, you know.
Good fall vibes. If it has that, then I think that's probably good enough.
Yeah,
because I haven't seen too much. That's the other thing, is like most of them that you see are Christmas or winter, and it's like it's a nice change of pace to see something that's not, probably, especially one that's fucking fall, because that's our Thrive years.
Yeah,
that's our Thrive time of year.
Got me excited. I watched a new movie called Birth Rebirth. This is one we were trying to catch at Fantasia, but they're being pains in the booties about it. But I finally got to watch it. I guess it's out now, and it's kind of like a modern, well, it's got some of the themes of like a Frankenstein, but modern tale, and it's told through female perspective, mother perspective, and it was okay. It's one of those ones where I remember like last year there were so many movies where we're like, yeah, it's good, but there's a lot of other like good shit out there. It's kind of like falls in that realm where it's like, yeah, it's good, but you know, it's not
good, but overshadowed.
Have you seen Scream 6?
Yeah, exactly.
So the list has grown and grown this year. There's been quite a few contenders. So
yeah, there's a lot. And then finally, the last thing I watched, I'd never seen it before, but I always see it on a bunch of lists and everything like that. Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island, which is set in New Orleans, Bob. I was thinking about you the whole time.
New Orleans?
Nowlands, set in NOLA.
Nowlands.
New Orleans.
Yep, that's the one. And yeah, it was solid. It's fun. Scooby-Doo. I'm not as fall as I was kind of maybe thinking or anticipating, or just that I kind of wanted, but still, Scooby-Doo is good. So
does Shaggy eat a 3-foot tall po' boy sandwich in that?
Yeah.
Hell yes, I'm watching that movie.
yeah, he does. And then not even Shaggy and Scooby, but there's one scene where they're in the market that we've fucking been many times, and Fred, he's got a box of the little donuts, though, beignets.
The beignets.
Yeah, and he's just like pounding them. So I was like, oh yeah, man, get me some of those.
All right.
But yeah, it was good. It was good movie. And not too long. It's only like 70 minutes or something like that. So yeah, good watch. That's all I've been watching for this week. Bobear, wrapped it up. What you been watching, my guy?
Not a whole ton of stuff. I did a Joe Bob watch party this past Friday, and they did something they've never really done before on the last drive-in. He's been hosting these jamborees, which is like a live drive-in movie weekend-long festival over the past 3 years. The first one was in 2021 at the Mahoning Drive-In, and they filmed the event, and they showed the first half of it this past Friday on Joe Bob. And he did a screening of Night of the Demons, and he had Amelia Kincaid.
Well, of course, here come the demons.
Linnea Quigley there, and they did like the normal like last drive-in show where they interrupt the movie, but they did it all live. And it was all projected onto the drive-in screen. People were there with their cars, and people were camping and staying for the whole weekend.
Cool.
So it was pretty neat to see that format done in like a live situation. It was pretty dope.
Was this
honestly.
broadcast?
Yeah, it was on Shudder this past Friday.
Okay, I the way you were describing it, I thought I heard about that as just a live event, live only. So I was surprised. Okay,
It was
I got
until
you.
this past Friday. So this happened 2.5 or 3 years ago, and they're
I
just
see. Might
just
have to
now
check
showing
that
it
out.
on Shudder. Yeah. I don't know when they're going to air the second half. I don't think they've announced that. So we'll see what happens with that. That was pretty dope. I've been watching The Sopranos just because we'll throw it on like randomly if we're doing other stuff. Sort of like a background watch situation. It's like my 8th time watching the show or some shit. Also been watching some Simpsons episodes for some stuff we might be doing here in the near future.
What?
Oh,
That's been fun. And the only other thing I've been watching really is football. It's football season, so I watched a little Thursday Night Football, and of course, watched the Jags play today. Football's back, baby. Are you ready for some football?
The boys are here to play, and they won. Let's go,
The
Jags.
boys are here to play. Yeah, that's all I've been watching this week.
all right.
We don't have any other voicemails, but if you guys are listening or would like to call and leave a voicemail to be featured on next week's show, you can do so at 904-638-3231. Do we have any prompts we want to throw out for next week, boys?
Nah.
Nah.
Next week we're talking about your takeover month, right, Bob?
Yeah, we are. I'm taking over next week. Taking it all.
And it's a
over.
Call and bitch about your
vampire.
favorite not winning.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's a vampire flick.
Mm-hmm.
Down to hear people calling about like crazy weird shit they've eaten. That's like kind of related to Raw and also vampirism. Like,
You know what? Vampires are sexy. Call in. Hotline Kings. I'm prompting.
ooh, have you eaten sandwiches while fucking? Call in unless.
What's the craziest thing you've eaten while having sex?
While
Heidelberg,
What's
banging
the
it up.
weirdest thing you've
No
eaten
need
off
to
of
call in
somebody's
again.
schlong?
Heidelberg does not need to retell his strawberry story. We all remember.
But
We're gonna have to
he's
go back into
probably
the
got
archives for that
some
one.
others. So like call.
If
call
you've
in.
eaten something stranger than a strawberry, then call in.
Heidelberg's
please.
probably just eating whole fruit baskets out of assholes. Like it's just edible arrangements coming right out of there. Got
Right.
melon
Basket.
balls and
Yeah.
bananas.
banana.
a basket inside that basket, and I want it.
Damn. Yeah. All right. Sure. Hotline Kings. Call in.
Basketception. Yeah.
Is it
904-6
acceptable to eat while you're having sex?
Stuff that's
Only
not
if it's heavy with
sexy
garlic.
too, like a pastrami sandwich. It's like leaking a little bit. Like
It's a wet Sammy, Bob.
it's like, well, you bite you got some mustard that might squeeze out the side. When you bite into it,
You just eat on either side and it squirts.
strawberries make sense, and
There you
chocolate or like whipped cream, but like nobody's eating like meals. But if you are, I want to hear.
I'm
about
eating
it.
full cheesesteak
I
hoagies.
really want to hear about.
Got to carb up, got to keep it going. When you've been going for 4 or 5 hours, you got to carb
Look,
up.
That French dip is just sitting there. What are you gonna not eat it? Come on.
The hot au jus is everything.
Got to get that au jus flowing, baby.
Yeah,
Oh,
calling
boy.
about all that stuff. Hotline Kinks, weird food you ate, or a combination
God help us.
of the two. Next week, we're talking about
vampire.
We know you would, man. We're talking about my takeover poll winner, which is Shadow of the Vampire from the year 2000.
Oh, with our pal Big Dick Defoe. in
Big
his
swinging,
most
Swinging.
naturalistic role.
Defoe. And John Malkovich and some other folks.
I've never seen this one. I'm excited.
It's been a long time since I've seen this.
I'm stoked.
I think
to
I
talk
saw
about
this
it.
when I
It's
was probably too young for it.
It's been a while since I've seen it too. This is I feel like this movie is really fucking good, and like anytime I bring it up, nobody seems to have seen it. So I'm excited to hopefully spread the word a little bit. I didn't look up to see where it's streaming. I should have done that. I'm sorry. It's probably streaming somewhere. So take that and do with it what you will. Shadow of the Vampire. get ready for next week's show. Until then, find us on all the social media outlets. We are everywhere. Just search Straight Chilling Podcast. If you want to join us on our Slack channel, hit us up on one of those social media outlets, and I'll send you a link so you can do so. Join in on the weekly conversations. We talk about movie of the week, talk about shows, video games, share pictures of our pets, recipes, all the fun stuff. Join us. And that's going to do it for us here at Straight Chilling. Until next time, as always, all you mother truckers, please keep chilling.
It's fucking love!